Hey guys, it's Mr. Rover, and you're extra lucky because we have a bonus episode today. So I was talking with some of the other teachers, and we decided we wanted to have a video to help show you guys how exactly it is that we go ahead and graph these different points that we're working on here. So right now we're taking a look at the final sheet that you're going to be working on today, where we have to graph two different times. We got Jack and Sarah's time and their bicycling. So the first thing that we need to do, well, first off, let's go ahead and come up with a title for this. So for this graph, we're going to have, we'll call it Jack and Sarah's speed. Okay, so we had a title. We should probably make that in a visible layer. Let's try that again. Yeah, Jack and Sarah's speed. Alright, so now we got a title. So now the next thing that we need to work on is we're going to need to go ahead and create the X and the Y axes. So when we look up here, the first thing we want to do is we want to know, well, how high are we going up to? So let's take a look at, we'll do the Y axis first. So the Y axis is always going to be our distance. So looking at our distance, so Jack's distance, we're going from 0 to 138. But looking at Sarah's, it goes all the way up to 180. So we need to make sure that our graph will start at 0 and it's going to go all the way up to 180. Now as far as these boxes, I already counted them out. There's like 22 different boxes, and unfortunately 180 divided by 22 is like some weird decimal. So we don't want to go up by like 9.5 on each box. We could do that, but we want to make things simple. So let's do something else. I'm just going to say, instead of going up to 180, I'm going to make it a little bit larger. I'm going to say let's go up to 200, and we've got about 20 boxes, so that means that each of these boxes is going to be about 10. So I've already kind of made these labels here. So starting at 0, I'm going to go up 10, 20, 30. Let's add those. Alright, now something you've noticed is that I didn't put a number on each individual box. You can do that, you can do 10, 20, 30, 40, but it is also appropriate and perfectly fine to kind of skip a line and go 20, skip a line and do 40, and sometimes it just makes your graph easier to read, so just understand that you can do that. Something else you're going to notice is that we've got some extra boxes up here on the top. If we were doing maybe like a really professional graph that we were going to publish somewhere, we would want to cut off our graph here, but since we're just doing this as a class assignment, it's okay to have some extra space on the top and possibly even over here on the side. The important thing is that each of these boxes is the same amount each time. Now you notice that these boxes do not perfectly match up with Jack's distance or even Sarah's distance. We don't have a 67 over here on the side. We're going to put that information in, but the important thing is to make sure that we've got the same numbers going across the top. Alright, now going across the bottom. So our time is going to start at 0 and it's going to go all the way to 180. And since we have about the same distance and about the same number of boxes, we're just going to do the same thing. Each of these boxes is going to be 10 seconds. Let's bring that up. Alright, so here we go, 20, 40, 60, and once again you can see I skipped just to make the graph a little bit easier to read. So now once we've labeled our x-axis and our y-axis, oh, something else I forgot to do. We need to actually label them, right? So this is going to be our distance, okay, and that's going to be in meters. We just abbreviate that, m, lowercase, okay, and then here our time is going to be measured in seconds, okay, and then we're going to measure that in seconds. Alright, so make sure you've labeled your axes. We've got our graphs accordingly. Alright, so now it's time for us to go ahead and plot our points. So we're going to be plotting Jack's time here. So starting at 0, we're going to want to put a plot at 0. So once again, our time, that's our first column, so 0, and then 0, that one's easy to do. We put dot here, 0, 0. Okay. So now our next one is going to be 20 on the time, which is our x-axis, so we're going to go across to 20, and then we're going to go up to our distance. So here our distance is 14, but we don't have a 14. It's going to be somewhere in between. Remember, this first line is 10 and 20, so 14 is going to be somewhere right about here. And we don't need to be super exact. As long as we're like in between our two boxes, we should be all right. Alright, so now our next one is going to be at 40 and then 29, so we go across to 40, that's our time, and then we go up to 29, which is almost 30, which is right there. Now, just to save some time, I've gone ahead and done the rest of these. Okay, so here's our plots for all of these. Once again, we went across to our time and then went up to our distance and put our dot. And now something we notice here is that it's mostly in a straight line, but we notice we've got this little bit of dip here before it picks back up. So we don't know what happened here. Maybe they were going uphill in something, or they slowed down, but we can see that it's not one straight line. So what we're going to do is, if it was a perfectly straight line, we could just take a line and we could just go from one end to the other, but you see how these points don't match up? So what we're going to do instead is we're just going to play connect the dots. So we're going to connect this one to there, this one to here. And it's okay if it's not perfectly straight, because the real world, our speed does not stay perfectly constant all the time. So that is something that we have to understand. And when we calculate speed, we can calculate speed either for the entire graph. So for the entire graph, he traveled 138 divided by 180. Or we can just do it by just sections. So we can say, okay, what was his speed for the first 60 seconds, or the first 2 minutes, or all 3 minutes? So we can either take a look at just a section, or we can take a look at the whole thing. We don't have to really worry about all these little bimps and bumps in between. And that's pretty much it as far as plotting the speed. So I have plotted Jack's speed. You are going to do that on your paper as well. And then you're going to go ahead and do the same thing with Sarah's speed. Now the nice thing is that our graph should already be set up for us. So all we have to do is to put our points, connect our dots, and then you're going to have some questions that you're going to answer at the end. All right, guys, I hope you're all having a great day. Look forward to seeing you guys when we return. All right, goodbye.